Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Notes and Quotes podcast. Thanks so much for joining for another Tuesday. If you're listening to this as the episode opens, I assume, but if it's not Tuesday for you, happy whatever day of the week it is for you. I'm just going to give you guys a quote right away so that I don't forget, because I forgot in one of the last episodes I filmed and I had to redo it. So, this is what I've got for you today. To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Ralph Waldo Emerson. We've had a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson already in one of these episodes. And you know what? I think Ralph Waldo Emerson might just be one of the big inspirations for this podcast at this point, because what a quote. I love that quote. Let's get it again. To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Now, today's going to be a little bit different because sometimes we do interviews where we're talking about specific topics. We're talking in sometimes vague terms. We're not talking directly about personal experiences. I mean, sometimes, a lot of the time we are, but the entire episode isn't dedicated to personal experiences. This one is. This one is dedicated to personal experiences. This is fully going to be my reflections on what it's like to feel the constant pressure to be someone else or to live up to certain expectations. Now, for a really long time, and even still now, I sometimes don't know who I really am. I think I'm starting to understand it more as I get older, but I don't really know who I am. And I feel like I'm always trying to be someone in some way for other people, no matter where I am. And it changes where I am. So if I'm at work, I'm trying to be a certain person. If I'm at home, I'm trying to live up to parents' expectations. If I'm around friends, I'm trying to, be cool and funny. And if I'm on a date, then I'm trying to be, super likable, also cool and funny. And sometimes I'm like, wait, which is the real me? And I'm constantly plagued mentally by the pressure to be someone that somebody else likes. And I know it's all steeped in just the yearn for external validation. But then I think to myself, who would I be without the pressure to be someone else? If I had no pressure at all, if there were no expectations, if nobody actually cared, if I didn't care, who would I be? And that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, for me, the biggest one that I deal with is the pressure to be doing what I think I should be doing rather than what possibly I actually want to be doing. I've always been a bit of an overachiever. I think I've said that so many times on this podcast, but I've been a bit of an overachiever my whole life. Well, not entirely my whole life, but in the latter part of my life. And I've always been somebody who wants to please people. I've been a people pleaser. And a lot of that comes from many different things, which we will get into. I'll bare my soul to you guys in a bit. But that whole yearn to meet people's expectations and be doing what you think you should be doing is really mentally taxing in a way, and it creeps up on you. It's like sneaky. It doesn't actually feel mentally taxing until it is. And when doing what you should be doing or what you think you should be doing becomes your guiding light for what you do in your life, if that makes sense, it becomes very difficult to understand what you actually want in life. So for example, in my case, I am currently in a gap year. I finished my bachelor's degree in 2023. No, that's a lie. In 2024, I finished my bachelor's degree last year at this time. And I said I'm going to do a gap year because I have been in school my entire life and I want to be thrust into the real world and, feel what life is like without the prescription of school, and knowing exactly what my next few months are going to look like. I want to feel that uncertainty. So that's what I did. That's what I'm doing. I'm in a gap year. And I said that I was going to do my master's afterwards. I've always told myself that I have no clue what I want to do my master's in, but I'll figure it out. I have a thin idea of what I want to do for my master's, but the thing is, I still don't even know. Do I even want to do a master's? Now, the only reason that I said that I was going to do a gap year before I did my master's is because doing a master's just felt like the next logical step. It felt like that's what everyone tells you to do. That's what all your professors tell you to do. That's what everyone else is doing when they graduate. At least, well, not everyone, but a good set of people just jump straight into a master's. And I felt like, okay, well, that's what I have to do because that's what you should be doing. That's how life works. That's the next step. And now I'm thinking to myself, and I haven't told myself, no, I'm not going to do a master's because I still have some minor interest in it. But at the same time, it's like, am I pursuing a master's because I feel like that's what I want to do? Or is it because I think that's what I should be doing? And how do I separate those two? How do I figure out which is which? How do I figure out which is the truth? And doing that is no easy feat. I mean, I'm still trying to do it. The world makes it an extremely difficult task because, just like the quote said, just like Ralph Waldo Emerson said, to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Because the world is trying to make you something else. We live in a world of Instagram Reels and Pinterest and TikTok and LinkedIn where everyone's showing these picture perfect lives or showing the ideal of what you should be, what the ideal relationship looks like, what the ideal job looks like, what the ideal daily routine is, what the ideal workout is, what the ideal meal plan is, everything. And it's creating these unspoken rules for your life about how you should live it in every aspect of your life, from the time you wake up to the music you listen to the clothes that you put on, everything. So it makes it very difficult to figure out, who am I actually and what do I actually want if you're being fed all of these different ideals every single day. And they might not even be your ideal. They might be somebody else's ideal that has just, gained popularity, and now it feels like what should be the norm. Now, I'm not saying that, don't pursue education. Of course not. I am a major advocate for education. I think everyone should be educated. But the thing is, not every single person needs to go get a PhD or to go get a master's. Like, yes, it's great and it's such an amazing accomplishment, but I don't think you should make everyone feel like they should do that. Like they need to do it in order to achieve success in their life or to be fully adult. It doesn't actually dictate whether or not you're going to be successful in your life. Because I've met people who don't even have a bachelor's degree. Some of them are high school dropouts, and they have been doing much better than me in their lives. And I know everyone says, oh, that's just like 1 in a million. It's actually not. The thing about it is, let's talk about this for a second. The reason that a lot of the time our parents' ideals and their expectations for us are at odds with what we might want to do or what is happening with the times right now is because they didn't grow up in the time that we grew up in. They didn't grow up in the time that we are currently growing up in. They grew up in a time where you did have a clear path. You go to school, keep going to school until you get as high education as you want to or as you're able to, and then you get a job. And it's always, most of the time, depending on your education level, it would be a good high-paying job. And that's how you achieve success. That's not the world we live in anymore. It's not that black and white anymore at all. For our generation, we have opportunities everywhere. Everywhere. And those opportunities, most of them, a lot of them actually, do not require you to have the highest level of education possible. It's just not the world we live in anymore. People value authenticity, people value creativity, people value experience. And I don't think that you need to feel like you need to live up to old ideals or expectations. And that's not, that whole living up to expectations thing and the fact that you don't need to do it does not only apply to things your parents say. It also applies to the stuff that we see online. When I was reading through a couple articles in preparation for this episode, I came across this little cartoon animation picture that said, if I'm trying to be him, then who's going to try to be me? And it's so simple and it's so stupid, but it really makes you stop and think. Well, it made me stop and think at least, like, okay, if I'm trying to be someone else, then who is going to be me? There's literally, as they say in the most cliche statement ever, there's only one me and I'm responsible for that person. So who's going to be me if I am constantly trying to live up to everyone else and to try and be a little piece of everyone so that they all like me? And I had touched on external validation a little minute ago, so let's get into the details of external validation in my life. So I think for as long as I can remember, I have always been yearning for external validation. I think I'm getting a bit better at it now, and being more comfortable in myself and not needing validation from others, but it's still there. The reason for that, as everything, it starts in your childhood, doesn't it? So when I was a kid, me and my mom didn't get along. We butted heads all the time. All the time. We had a rather toxic relationship because we were always arguing. We're great now. Like, we're fine now. But at the time, it wasn't great. And I was constantly yearning for her approval. And I was constantly yearning for like attention and for her to like me because I felt like she didn't like me because we were always arguing. And in reality, that wasn't true. But at the time when I was a kid, I couldn't process the fact that someone's mad at me and still loves me at the same time. So I always thought, okay, well, to be loved and to be okay, I need to make sure that other people like me and I need to do whatever it is that I can do to make sure that that happens. I'll be whoever I need to be to make sure that I am liked. And that was compounded by the fact that at school, I was applying that same mindset. And because I wasn't getting the validation that I needed at home, I sought it out from my friends or friends, quote unquote. But I did it a bit too much. So I became really intense and I wanted people to like me so badly that I became annoying. And I was constantly, trying to get people's attention, trying to get into different friend groups, trying to just get people to like me. And it was so obvious and it was just so intense that people found me annoying. And then by that same token, as a result, I then got bullied for it. And people used to call me clingy. People used to call me dumb. People used to call me annoying. People used to call me like all these different names. I can't even remember because I've just blocked them all out now. But it just led to a deepening of that external validation that I needed because I wasn't getting it at home and now I wasn't getting it from my friends. And even if I did have people to hang out with, they weren't good people to hang out with. They made me feel bad about myself every time I was around them. But I was still hanging out around them because they were giving me attention. So it was a bit of a sick cycle. And of course, unsurprisingly, that led into my adulthood. So now I'm an adult who now, yes, has good relationships with my family. And I have good friends because I shed the old friends that were terrible or we just grew apart. But the childhood stuff always sticks with you. So I still do things in the pursuit of external validation. For example, let's say I'm out with a new group of friends that we're now starting to build up our friendship. We're not that close. I am going to do everything that I can and be who I need to be in order to make them like me. So I'll assess their personality first and see how I can match their personality and energy match and, say the right things, try and be funny, try and do things that I think they might like, try and say things that might make them like me more, not necessarily lies or anything, but I'll like embellish the truth a little bit just so that I can be liked. And it's so messed up. I know it's so messed up. The other day I had met a friend and I don't know what happened. My brain, first of all, I was so anxious to meet them because I just get anxious when I'm meeting new people. And when I was hanging out with them, because we were hanging out one-on-one, I said, we were talking about cooking. I believe that's what we were talking about. And then I was telling him that I was from the Caribbean. And he was like, oh, do you know how to create any Caribbean like dishes and stuff? Are you like, what's Caribbean food like? And I said, oh yeah, I'm working on my Caribbean curries. What? That's such a lie. I think I've cooked curry maybe once in my life and it was a really crap curry. I'm not working on my Caribbean curries. But I said that to him and I carried on with that conversation like it was the truth. And I'm thinking to myself, wait, where did this come from? I'm only saying this so that he'll find me more interesting. And I do this with everyone. I do this with everyone that I meet for the first or that I'm uncomfortable with that doesn't know me that well because the external validation takes over. And I know that I'm self-sabotaging right now and like unveiling all of my secrets, but it is something that I do that I'm working on. Anyway, but when I think back to the times of me doing stuff like that, it kind of makes me sad because it's so exhausting to do that. Because when you're done and when you're alone, it's like, well, who am I really? Because I'm a different person with this person. I'm a different person. I'm the same person overall. It's hard to explain this. I'm the same person overall, but I'm still putting on a show with each person that I'm with. And it's never lies, but it's like, it's not really truly me. And then the real me only starts to come out when I know that that person approves of me and I've gained their approval. And that's when I can start to relax. What is that? That's so messed up. Because then it begs the question of, why would they not like me for me? And why would I want to be friends with somebody who doesn't actually like me? That doesn't make any sense. So it's a very counterintuitive practice, but childhood trauma. So how have I been overcoming it? Let's move on to that. How have I been overcoming this? Because I actually have been. And I've been like really happy about that. I've been seeing signs that I'm overcoming that whole need for external validation kind of thing. Some of my tactics are controversial, I suppose. Well, not really controversial. It's just people might think they're weird, but who cares? So, the number one thing, introspection. Just really sitting with yourself and thinking about everything. I'm naturally an overthinker anyway, so this one comes quite easily, but I couple that overthinking with positive thoughts. So anytime I feel like a negative thought coming on, like saying, oh my gosh, you're so dumb or something like that, even if I'm saying it to myself as a joke, I'd be like, you know what? No, you're not actually dumb. Like, let's say something nice. And I know you've probably heard that one before, like say positive things to yourself, positive affirmations, all that stuff. Part of it actually does work. I feel like the wishy-washy version of it, like, I don't know, looking yourself in the mirror and saying, I am wonderful, I am beautiful, I am grace, I am love, I am peace. I mean, if that works for you, great. It doesn't work for me if I feel fake. So sometimes I'll just be like, I'll just catch my negative thoughts and replace it with something positive. Even if I don't believe it at the time, I'm still going to say it to myself. And then that reinforcement becomes a belief. And that works quite well for me. And then this one, I know people will think is weird, but talking to yourself. Guys, listen to me. Probably one of the reasons I've started a podcast. I talk to myself all the time. All the time. I talk to myself the most in the bathroom. I feel like the bathroom is my therapy room. I talk to myself so much. So much. I talk to myself in the car. I talk to myself in the bathroom. I talk to myself in my room. I talk to myself in bed. I talk to myself all the time. And out loud as well. I know people think it's weird. I know people might think I'm insane. But guys, I think it's the best way to practice this introspection and to practice this, just a deeper understanding of yourself. Because if you really think about it, it's easy to say to someone, oh, just be you. Don't worry about other people's opinions. Just be you. But what does it mean to just be you? What does it mean to be you in general? If you have ever experienced any of these struggles that I talked about before, where it's like you've been living your entire life to please others and to live up to others' expectations, and you're kind of a chameleon when it comes to getting other people to like you, the concept of being yourself is so strange, because who actually am I? You haven't really truly been yourself for ages, and you don't really know who you are. So what does it mean to be you? You have to figure out who you are. And the best way to figure out who you are, for me at least, has been these conversations with myself about any and everything. Any and everything. If I'm watching a show, I'll talk to myself about my personal opinions on the show out loud, like I'm having a conversation. If something happens in my life, like it could be a major event, it could be something super minuscule and little, like I went to the grocery store and I came back, and I'll talk to myself about the events at the grocery store and my opinions on certain things that interested me or piqued my, eye about somebody else that I saw in the grocery store, like a couple that I saw walking around, or somebody who had a cute outfit, or if I heard something interesting on the radio. I literally talk to myself like I'm my best friend. And I know it sounds weird, I know it sounds strange, but it's so helpful for me, because now I understand myself on a much deeper level. I know who I am, I know my thoughts, I know my patterns, I know my true opinions, and I'm not trying to change myself for anyone else, because now I know who that actually is. And that's such an empowering feeling to have when you have lived your entire life trying to figure out who you are through the guise of other people. I used to take on the opinions of others that I wanted to like me. I used to try and dress like people who I thought were cool. I try to make all of my decisions based on whether I thought my parents would think that it's good, or if I'd get approval from them, or if my friends would like me more if I did this or something, or my friends would find me more interesting. I'm sorry, but fuck all of that. I can't, it's too exhausting. And at the end of the day, half of those people, I mean, I know this is morbid, but half of those people are going to die. And then I will be left to live this life. So why not just create one that I actually am going to like because I'm going to be the one living that life anyway? Oh, and another tactic that I've been using as well to figure out myself and just shed the pressure of having to be someone else is just doing things, Nikeing everything. So, what does this mean? Basically, I think for a long time, and this is especially true as well if you're in a long term relationship, sometimes people tend to lose themselves and you don't, but most of the people, even if you're single, you don't really tend to do things alone. Like you don't tend to go to events alone, you don't go to the movies alone, you don't do activities alone because it's just a lot of people don't really do that. Most of the things that you do in terms of going out of your house, you end up doing with other people. And I have started to make a list of things that I have always found interesting or things that I've always wanted to do, even if it was small. Some of the things I have on that list: take a salsa dancing class, go see the ballet, go to an art museum, go to more art museums rather. Just go hang out at cafes. If there's a cool movie that I see come out, I'm going to go watch it by myself. I'll book the ticket and go by myself. I'll sit next to all the couples that are there. I'll mingle around all of the groups and just be there myself. And that is so just liberating. It's nerve-wracking at first when you're booking it and when you're going, but then when you get there and you realize how much you enjoy this because this is something that you've always wanted to do and something that you actually enjoy, it's great. There's so many benefits because you don't have to leave because somebody else doesn't want to stay anymore. You don't have to worry about whether the other person's having a good time because the other person is you. And if you're not having a good time, you can leave. If you're having a great time, you can stay for as long as you want. If you want to do something spontaneous after, like go get food somewhere else or go to another event that's right around the corner, you can. And it really helps you understand yourself better and understand what you like and dislike. Because there's some things that I put on that list that I've gone to go do and I realize, you know what? This actually isn't as enjoyable as I thought it was going to be. Maybe I don't like this. And then boom, you've unlocked another version of yourself. You've unlocked another level to the understanding of who you actually are. And how great is that? I feel like these are the things that we should be doing in our 20s and trying to shed the toxicities that we've brought with us and the trauma that we've brought with us from our childhood. Because at the end of the day, as cheesy as it sounds, it's your life and you are the only person that has to live it. And you can't live that life under the pressure of trying to be someone else. We live in a world where there is constant pressure to make you into someone that you might not actually be. Constant pressure. It is actually a rebellious act to try to be yourself. And I encourage everyone to go be rebellious. Go do your thing. Be a badass and go be yourself. Whatever that looks like for you. Anyway, this was a bit of a short one today, guys, and I apologize for that because I know that some of you on the listener survey have been saying that you want longer episodes. Working on that for you. Don't even worry about it. I am going to bring you some longer episodes, so don't stress. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about when I say listener survey, we have a listener survey. It takes genuinely less than a minute, probably about 30 seconds to fill it out, just so I know how to create the best possible podcast for you guys, because that's what this podcast is for you. And yeah, it would really help me out if you filled it out. It's right down in the show notes. And if you want to keep up to date with more stuff, you can go check us out on our socials. We're on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn, and also YouTube, of course. And that's all that I have for you guys today. I love you so much. And I will see you next Tuesday. Yeah, that's it, guys. Okay, have a good one. Bye.